Good evening. I'm discussing the Amsoil water-resistant grease today, which also kind of runs together with the synthetic multi-purpose grease. Basically, the grease is it's not one of our top 10 sellers, but if I were to make a category for people to just walk in the door for one thing, then the water-resistant grease definitely is that top 10 seller. What I mean by that is there's people that come in and shop for a multitude of Amsoil items that may buy this as well, but there's also a lot of people that have a specific application where the grease is the most important lubricant in that device, say anywhere from a type of construction equipment to a boat trailer. And this is what they found, and they're not really familiar with the Amsoil lineup, but in the forums and such, this is the product that's allocated. So it is a top seller. I'm always ripping open packs, and I have it shelved in 2 spots. If a number of years ago, I remember Amsoil told us, they said of all the products that they produce, and I don't know if this is still the case now, but there was a reason for this, and of everything they produced, the grease was the most technically advanced item that they made, the grease lineup. And that says a lot. If you have any application that calls for grease, if there's anything you need to dial into, it's the Amsoil greases, the line of grease. One of the reasons that was so was, I remember when they discussed that, they had a gentleman come in that was one of the suppliers for the grease companies, and he had told the story that our competitors have actually requested or required the cost of the grease go down because they eliminated the sales team for grease. They eliminated a whole department involving grease because it had already had its established customer base. So they started chipping away at the additives too, reversing the technology. And that actually gave Amsoil a chance to not only solve that issue, but grab some of the newest technology that nobody else was taking advantage of. So most of that information deals with our truck grease, the heavy-duty truck grease, and the off-road, which we'll cover that later. But recently, these two, which I kind of put together in the same line, they went from a lithium base to a calcium base and a calcium sulfonate complex. Oops, it's upside down there. And one of the issues with that was cost, but compared to the lithium, the calcium base can handle much more pressure and much more heat. The negative issue was the cost, and if you know how Amsoil does business, cost is never the issue. They always go with whatever is available that works the best for the whole package. So how many times do you get on the highway every year in the spring and you see a boat trailer sitting on the side of the road? And that's because they didn't grease their bearings. Well, with the water-resistant grease, this can handle many more times the water immersion without coming loose. Go to Amsoil.com or our website, oilordering.com, and read the information about these products, or just try them out yourself. A long time ago, I remember they said, when you see moly in a grease, that's always not necessarily a good sign. The requirement for moly and just moly by itself. They said basically what that grease company is saying by having moly as the feature additive is they don't have confidence that their grease is going to stay put. So once the grease stays put, the moly is left behind for the extra protection. But if the grease stays put, you don't need that. And that's the purpose of this. It does stay put for that time that the OEM specs out. We do have people that cut their grease intervals in half, although that's not recommended. But you'll also notice when if you have a piece of equipment that you have to grease so often on a frequent schedule, you'll notice you're not needing so much grease. Where was that article? Oh, this is kind of neat. Again, the water-resistant grease, all it is the multi-purpose grease that has a little bit more built-in water resistance. So both of these, they're kind of interchangeable. If it's not going to be submerged in water, get the multi-purpose grease. It's like a 30-cent price difference between the two. And as far as the grease price, if you go to Amsoil.com, you see that price online. That is the full retail that has their shipping deal going in. But if you call us, you can always get the best price. If you're a preferred customer, of course, that's another way to go. If you use a lot of grease, buy it by the case. They come in a case of 10, and then there's also a pack of 4 cases, so that's 40, which reduces the cost there. So always give us a shout if you're just looking for the grease at 800-579-0580. Okay, here's the story I wanted to show you. In a way, they actually used, it could be said they used the wrong grease for this application because of the load. But the multi-purpose grease is what they used. Again, if you have a lot of water contamination or submersion, use the water-resistant version. If not, whether you're hand packing or it's high-speed wheel bearings, use the synthetic multi-purpose. But anyway, as far as this article goes, we're using a piece of equipment that has vibrating augers, and they push out these hollow core panels used for building roofs and floors, as well as pre-stressed, precast manufacture of concrete pieces used in various buildings such as parking lot garages, warehouses, and schools. So we're talking about large concrete panels. Now this grease was the proper one to use because in this case we're at 16,000 RPMs, these augers. The thing it doesn't really make clear is that like a wheel bearing that's packed, or are we talking about another type of joint within the process but maybe not spinning at that rate? So that's where I would further question this. But the amazing thing is, whether this was the right or the wrong grease for the application, the results were outstanding. Check this out. These machines have 64 bearings in each. The company has 3 of these extruders. The bearings cost between $75 and $180 each. Now, it said normally they would be replacing these bearings every 100 hours because the grease wouldn't hold up. So, and I've heard this a lot. There are companies that have a consistent failure rate of a certain bearing, and they start to just believe that's normal. And so they have the extra bearings in stock, and they change them out at these intervals, when a grease could have solved the whole problem. We hear that with street cleaning machines, which Amsoil solved their problem too, the street sweepers. So anyway, $75 to $180 each. Every 100 hours they were changed out. They started using the Amsoil grease, which stays put, in the bearings, which were checked every 100 hours, 200 hours, 300 hours, all the way to 600 hours. It says here, the grease has saved our company thousands of dollars on bearings. And again, that's why people just come in for the Amsoil grease, whether it's the water resistant or the multi-purpose. They do what they say. They work as advertised. Now I run these machines for up to 500 hours before cleaning the bearings and re-greasing them. So that's just a no-brainer right there. So I'm trying to think of another. Well, the other testimonials that I have are for the truck grease, and we'll cover that later. But that's for the truck and chassis, and then we have the off-road grease for that type of use. Excavating companies, construction companies, farms, they buy that by the 40 packs all the time. But if you work in your garage too, just for typical automotive use, this is still the best grease for hand packing bearings, all your trailers and boat trailers needs. Oh, and one more very important issue. In this climate, snowmobiling is a big thing. And maybe in your climate you have a similar piece of equipment, Baja bug or some type of device. Jet ski may not. They have some grease. The wave runners do. But we had a guy come in the other day. Well, okay, we get a lot of sledders come in. And I say, do you need any grease? Nope, I just need oil. It's kind of like the quick shot. You need something to clean maintain the inside of that engine, clean it up. It also treats ethanol. Oh, I don't use ethanol. Yeah, but do you want to clean up the inside? Oh, I don't use ethanol. Well, it cleans the inside. Remember, quick shot. So I say, you want some grease for that? Nah, don't worry about that. We're just going out riding a few days. Well, I had a customer come in the other day, and he said, he came in for this, and I said, what are you buying it for? He says, the sleds. And I said, everybody that comes to with sleds, I always recommend this, and they say, I'm not worried about it, I don't need it. He goes, well, that says a lot. He says, when I'm out sledding, every now and then I jump on other people's sleds to try them out. I've never sat on a sled that performed as well as mine. He was talking about the suspension. He says they're harder to operate. They don't rebound properly. He says the problem is people don't grease the sleds. He says you need to grease it after every say 8-hour run. Grease it up. And the racers do. And he says that is the difference between a sled that performs well and not. It simply comes down to that grease. When you buy a used sled out there on the market, do you want one that someone took care of it or not? That could be the deciding factor right there. But I thought that was pretty interesting. It was night and day. Apparently, I don't ride sleds, but the guy that came in here, he said it is night and day difference, and he was obviously sold on the product. But that was the one thing that they did cover when they told us back in the beginning, this was in 2003, 2004, that of everything that Amsoil makes, the grease was the most advanced, and that was its ability to stay put. So, again, when you go back to do your PMs, you're not putting as much grease in. You still need to keep the schedule the way it needs to be. For all that type of equipment, this is the product to use in wheel bearings and anywhere high-speed applications. If it's low-speed applications and high load, say under 200 RPM or universal joints, they're not actually spinning at a high speed. They're articulating as that drive shaft goes around, but they're not actually spinning. You could easily use this, or you could use the truck grease in those. But I do have a lot of people, even though this isn't the truck grease, I do have the average automobile owner using. They want to buy one grease for all applications, then the multi-purpose grease, or if they want to step up to the water resistant, that covers all applications. So, another product in your garage arsenal of Amsoil products, and I'll end it here. Please fire back any questions, or hopefully you like the video. Be sure to like our videos. I'm going to be adding more. Hopefully I can do them shorter in less time than this. So thank you.